YouTube, what's up? Welcome back to a new video. If this is your first time here on the channel, thanks so much for stopping by. Definitely check out some of my other videos. And if you like what you see, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. You guys, I done found some boxed Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games. And I got in my feels a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It made me feel a certain type of way. And I wanted to take a little trip down memory lane. So let's get into it. So a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to have my DS collection up here. I love the Nintendo DS. I want to put those games, my collection, on the shelf, right? So I went down to the basement, opened up the closet, and proceeded to look for my DS collection. Crazy thing is that I didn't even bring my DS collection up here. I haven't gotten even around to that yet. I was just so excited that I found boxed Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games. I honestly forgot about these games. I don't know why or how they ended up in the closet, in the tote, but man, it made me happy when I saw them. I have 13 boxed Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games here. Most of them are Game Boy Advance games. And I just wanted to go over a couple of them. So let's do it. Micro Machines for the Game Boy. This brings back some memories, guys. It honestly does. This is not my original copy by any means. Lord knows I don't have any original stuff from the Game Boy era, right? The moment I got a new Game Boy game, you know what I did. You know what I did. I took the card out, I took the instruction manual, and the box went in the trash. Terrible. I remember playing this game a lot back in the day. I did like Micro Machines. I don't think I had any Micro Machines. I enjoyed playing with cars as a kid. I played with cars. I played with Barbies. I played with Cabbage Patch Kids. I had a huge stuffed animal collection, but I also like G.I. Joe figures and wrestling figures. Like, I grew up with a brother, an older brother, and a whole bunch of guy cousins. You know what I'm saying? I was always playing sports. I liked me some Micro Machines. I definitely haven't played this game as an adult, but as a kid, I definitely remember having a good time with it. I love the fact that you weren't necessarily racing on like a racetrack. That's crazy. These are Micro Machines. You were like racing on like kitchen counters and like in gardens and stuff, if I remember. It was like really cool like locations that you were racing in. And even back then, I felt like it had like a really good sense of speed. Like I felt like the cars were kind of going fast. Definitely gonna pop this in to see what it plays like now. But Micro Machines was definitely a good time on the Game Boy. I believe this game is called Tessay. It does say, warning, highly addictive. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case, at least for me. It's a puzzle game that I really can't get into. This is a complete copy of the game. I do have the instruction manual. Inside of the box, there is the little plastic game cart holder. One thing, there's also this little poster here for the game. One thing that definitely brought back memories was this little advertisement. It says, I can conquer the world. And then you open it up and it's an advertisement for Nintendo Power. And I just think that's awesome. I definitely miss Nintendo Power. T2, the arcade game. This is Terminator 2 on the Game Boy. If you're my age, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, you definitely know how much hype, well, you can remember how much hype was just revolving all around Terminator 2. And that was such an awesome movie. I love that movie to pieces. This is the arcade game on the Game Boy. I never owned it back then, but I do remember one of my cousins on my dad's side, who I didn't see that often, had T2 on the Game Boy, and I definitely remember he let me play it, and I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Just because I love the movie so much, it's like, this is so much fun. Really easy to pick up and play. I thought it looked really dope. Like the graphics look great on the Game Boy. Terminator 2, this brought back a whole bunch of memories. Playing it the couple of times that I did when I got to see my cousin, and yeah, I was so happy when I saw it at the game store. I was like, oh, this is time, finally time for me to pick this game up. The one Game Boy Color game that I have here, I know I haven't played yet. I definitely didn't play it back in the day. And when I picked it up, I don't think I ever got around to playing it, trying it out. It's Paperboy. This is also a complete copy of the game. I mean, it's Paperboy. I loved Paperboy on the NES back in the day. I'm pretty sure I got this online from like East Starland or somewhere else. And it was probably super cheap, so I picked it up at the time. But yeah, Paperboy is always gonna hit when it needs to. And I'm sure this is a pretty good version of that game. The rest of these games are for the Game Boy Advance. So first up, I have in a shiny box, Atari Anniversary Advance. Yeah, or AAA, okay? Like to call it AAA. The box is a little beat up, but it is a complete copy. I remember having a lot of fun with this game. Now, I didn't purchase this game when it originally came out. I actually ended up buying it used, I think on like eBay years back. But this is definitely a good time. It's developed by Digital Eclipse, who we all know does an amazing job at like preserving these older games, right? And they're great at emulation. So there are 6 games that you can play on the Game Boy Advance, 6 Atari classic games. My favorite to play is definitely Centipede. I love playing Asteroids and Super Breakout as well. This is nothing crazy, but definitely it put a smile on my face when I saw it because I enjoy me some Centipede and Asteroids. Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars. This is a like known point and click adventure game series. I don't think I ever beat this particular version. I know I played a bunch of it because I remember being like completely like in awe of the graphics on the Game Boy Advance with this game. I bought this used. I didn't buy it new when it was released. But when I was going through a little phase of point and click adventure games, this one caught my eye, so I definitely picked it up, and I lucked up and got a box version, so that's cool. Contra Advance, the Alien Wars EX. I love me some Contra, guys. You know that. I love me some Contra. They're always just like a good time, and they always somehow manage to bring back nostalgia, right? From when I was younger and I would play Contra with my like younger cousin. It is a port of Contra 3. Yeah, it's Contra 3, the Super Nintendo one, Alien Wars. And it's good stuff. It's fun. You know, it looks great on the Game Boy Advance. Really fun. It does also, one of the things that's different about this game, because like I said, it is a port, but one of the things that it adds is like difficulty modes, right? So you have like baby mode and then you have normal mode. And I definitely remember playing a whole lot of that game on baby mode. And I almost want to say I remember there being like endless continues in the game. That's probably not the case. I might be tripping, but I feel like that was a thing. So this is just Contra on the Game Boy Advance. You got the spread shot, you got the flamethrower. I can't remember if the laser gun is in there or not. I will tell you though that it does have a couple of different levels, even though it is a port of the Super Nintendo game. It does have a couple of levels thrown in there that are different. So that's neat. But I was really happy to see this. I was like, oh man, I totally remember this, but I can't remember if I bought it new or not. Probably didn't. FZero GP Legend. Now this I do remember buying new. Yeah, I'm a fan of the F-Zero games. Even though I feel like I'm not good at them, they are just so much fun to play. I tell you, it's that sense of speed. And I feel like it's really awesome when a portable game gives you that sense of speed, like this game does, and the other one, Maximum Velocity, because if I'm not mistaken, this came out after Maximum Velocity. I don't think I like this one. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't enjoy this one as much as I liked the first F-Zero game that came out on the Game Boy Advance. I do remember there being like a really like, you know, chunky single player campaign in this particular game. But other than that, I don't think I stuck with it all that much. But if it's F-Zero, I really wish that they would bring F-Zero back. I know we have F-Zero 99. Okay, I know that's a thing. And I love that, right? It's great. But I want like a traditional F-Zero game for the Switch or whatever is coming next. These next two games are a part of a series. I purchased these brand new when they were released. Final Fantasy V Advance and Final Fantasy VI Advance. I never got around to playing Final Fantasy V. Never played it. It's not sealed, but I definitely haven't taken anything out of this game. I mean, hell, it's still in the little plastic. The game cart is still in the little plastic, if you guys can see that. It hasn't been played. But Final Fantasy VI Advance was my first time playing and completing an old school Final Fantasy game. And I think I picked a really great game to start as far as the old school Final Fantasy games go, because Final Fantasy VI Advance is fantastic. I thought the story was fantastic. I absolutely loved the pixelated graphics. I thought they looked really sharp on the Game Boy Advance. Matter of fact, I played this entire game on my Game Boy Advance Micro, which is wild and crazy. But yeah, like I said, narrative is great. Love the characters, Terra, Sabin, Edgar. Gosh, this is just a timeless classic, to be honest with you. And like I said, I'm so glad that I started with this particular game, because it really made me want to play more of the older, retro Final Fantasy games. Not to mention the fact that Kefka is an amazing villain, right? I think he's an amazing bad guy. Love Kefka. Fire Emblem, Sacred Stones. I've never played this game. Not gonna lie, never played it. I think I had popped it in once, but I definitely didn't make any progress in this game at all. I know I purchased it because I was super impressed with the original Fire Emblem that came out on the Game Boy Advance. Like, Fire Emblem was the first turn-based strategy game that I had ever played, and it really impressed me. Like, I fell in love with that game. So anything else that came out, anything else Fire Emblem that came out, I picked it up. I just haven't gotten around to playing this one yet. WarioWare Mega Micro Games. This is my original copy. This game will always put a smile on my face. The amount of time that I spent, the amount of hours that I spent playing this one cartridge, off the chain. Definitely one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games, for sure. Game is goofy, it's wacky, it's a compilation of crazy, sometimes disgusting mini games with really good music. Again, just will always put a smile on my face. Now, I know people appreciate the newer WarioWare games, don't have a problem with them, but if I had a choice, I would love for Nintendo to go back to these traditional WarioWare games, the traditional games that are just super silly, because that's what I'm looking for. I love this game. Last one here is Castlevania Circle of the Moon. This is a special one here. I purchased Castlevania Circle of the Moon along with Ready to Rumble Boxing and my Game Boy Advance in August of 2001. And I totally remember that because I got it when I was on family vacation. And when I say family, I mean like my parents, my aunties, and my cousins. Like, we're still all going to spending a week at the beach in a beach house. And I purchased that then and just Absolutely loved it. I mean, I also really like Ready to Rumble boxing as well, but I really did like Castlevania Circle of the Moon. I actually prefer this trilogy, the Game Boy Advance trilogy of Castlevania games, over like the Game Boy or the DS ones. But yeah, I remember loving the game, but I do remember being so frustrated with it. All of my frustration had to do with the fact that this game was super dark. And we all know that back then the Game Boy Advance did not have like a backlit screen or anything. So I definitely remember like having to sit underneath of like the lamp in the living room in the beach house to try to play this game at night, which was really frustrating. Boy, I tell you, I was so excited when we got backlit Game Boy Advances. Made a huge difference. But I let my cousins play this game. My cousins also played the Ready to Rumble boxing game. And we all enjoyed our time for that week playing Game Boy Advance, you know, and hanging out, doing absolutely nothing, but enjoying each other. Castlevania Circle of the Moon is definitely a good time. Such an atmospheric Castlevania game. I mean, all of them are really atmospheric, but that one for sure. Those are the box Game Boy games that I found, guys. I'm not gonna lie, this is almost making me go down a rabbit hole of like collecting for the Game Boy again. It really is. I'm so excited to like play these games on my analog pocket. I really am. So yeah, I just might start getting back into Game Boy and Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance collecting. We'll see how that goes. If you guys have played any of these Game Boy games, let me know what you think about them. And on that same note, let me know if you've ever found anything, any of your video game collection that you totally forgot about. Let me know what you found in your closet, in the basement, in a tote. I want to thank all of you guys for watching this video, and I'll check you next time. Peace.